Hi everyone, my name is Martin and welcome to another great edition of MP Astro. And I know it's been a while since I posted the last video. It's almost 8 to 9 months ago, and I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I had a bit of a tough time lately over the past few months. Obviously, as you're aware, where things are happening, things are getting more expensive. We're having to work harder to earn a living. And obviously with my channel, for example, it's quite a small channel. It doesn't pay very well. I don't rely on YouTube to make my revenue. So I work full time like everyone else does. Obviously I have to work harder, push in a lot more hours to pay off the bills. But the thing is, I only do this channel as a hobby because I do like making videos. And obviously a few months back and all that, I had some people that I know that have passed away rather suddenly. So it's actually put a little bit of pressure onto my mental health a bit, which I have to purge out, which is a good thing. But the thing is, after a while, after all that things have been happening through the past months, I've had to just focus what I need to do. Obviously skies has not been great for me in this area because obviously the weather's been pretty bad, and not much clear skies, I'm afraid, which again I've got a project that I've got in hand, still unable to test it out. And it's been quite frustrating for the past few months. So obviously with work commitments being quite hard, obviously I have to make the balance. So I had to work harder to obviously pay my bills and keep on struggling like the rest of us. But the good news is things are getting better, and I know you guys and girls and everyone else that look forward to my channel have missed out a lot of my videos that I've not been posting regularly. I do apologize to you guys and girls, all the fans out there. I know that you really do like my channel, and there are a lot of my best subscribers that watch my channel every day. I thank you all for what you've done, okay? Because my channel might be pretty small compared to some other the bigger astro groups, but it's you guys and girls and everyone here that make this channel as it is by you guys supporting this channel that makes my channel worthwhile. And yes, I do have a few subscribers, but I'm not bothered. End of the day, I'm not here just to publish videos just to make views. I'm here because I like making videos, but also I like to share some of my ideas as well to help you guys and girls get better and get along with astronomy, because believe me, astronomy can be a very taxing hobby, a very tough hobby as well as expensive. So enough for that. What I will say is that I will be making some more videos, but it won't be as much as compared to what I was publishing out every month. So there'll be times where I will try my best to publish a video in and out, but it's just because work commitments has been pretty hard lately. I've got to work long hours. I'm just like a normal human being compared to your guys as well. You're also struggling as well, and I totally get that. All right. So I know you do miss my channel. You do miss the videos, so I will publish when I've got the time. I'll help you guys and girls out as best I can. All right, it is frustrating for me because I really do enjoy making the videos and spend the time with you guys and girls, because you do like what I publish out. So for that on, as you can remember, I did a while back a video on this fantastic little telescope. This is the Skywatcher short tube 80mm refractor. Now I did the Super Tune series of part 1 and part 2 on this telescope. Again, check out the links at the top. All right, it will take you to those links to the video. So with this refractor, if you're owner of this refractor, you're aware that it's an achromat. So it's a budget style telescope and it does have its limitations. All right, it's great as a beginner's telescope and it's great as a secondary guide scope if you want to go further afield. A lot of my recommendations, if people are on a limited budget and they want a good telescope to avoid the cheap trash telescopes, this is one of the telescopes to look out for. Because there's no collimation involved, it's very simple, very lightweight, and it does have enough aperture to show you some decent views, much better compared to smaller apertures that you usually find on trash telescopes that you find in cheap stores. The Skywatcher 80mm or ST-80, meaning short tube 80mm, the ST-80 is a fantastic scope. And with that videos that I published out, I did a few modifications step by step along the way to get this telescope performing outstanding. Now there'll be a few viewers out there thinking, well, why would you want to spend a ton of money on an achromat when you can just buy an ED or a triplet? Yes, point taken. I would go for an ED or triplet refractor no matter what, but because it eliminates a lot of the chromatic aberration. But the problem is though, they cost a lot of money, and like always, as you're aware with the situation with inflation rates getting sky high and all that, people don't have the money to afford an ED or a triplet. So the next best thing is an achromat. Achromats are very good telescopes, believe it or not, because you think about it, if you're going to use it for imaging, yes, you will get some false colouring in a coloured image. However, if you're using an achromat and use a narrowband CCD or a CMOS astro camera, if you use it in narrowband, that false colour is almost eliminated. In fact, it's eliminated totally, and you won't get that effect. So narrowband imaging works perfectly with an achromat. Also, an achromat, if you're imaging the sun, for example, and you're using Algebra Alpha, again, using Algebra Alpha and a mono camera, you will not get any of this colour fringing. Totally eliminated. So in theory, you can use an achromat for narrowband imaging for deep space, or for solar work. So obviously I've done a lot of modifications to this telescope and I managed to image with it. So again, if you've not seen part 1 or part 2 of this telescope, please check it out from the top, because I'm absolutely impressed. And the thing is, even though you do have false colouring, you can always process it out using Photoshop. So in theory, you just got to process it out. You've got to do a bit more work. So it's not really crucial that you really need an ED or triplet. It's not necessarily needed. However, with ED and triplet glass refractors, they do offer much sharper views than an achromat by far. All right, that depends on the aperture and what type of glass is used. Refractor is a bit of a niche between astrophotography, and again, if you want high superior images, then you need to look for higher grade glass. But for the people that are on a limited budget, you can image with an achromat without a problem. But I'm a big believer in keeping those equipment. Buy the equipment that you're going to use. Don't buy something because of the latest thing that's been shown on an Astro channel. Why not save the money, use the telescope, but also make it better? So I'm just going to show you another telescope, and I'm very fond of this telescope, and this is the Skywatcher ST-102 refractor. So this is basically the bigger brother of the ST-80, just a little bit more refined. Again, it's an achromat, all right, no bells and whistles. It's just a 4-inch refractor, just over 4 inches, all right. I think it's a fantastic telescope for its price, you know, and it's within budget for a lot of people. And the 4-inch aperture is ample enough for astronomy, all right. It'll give you good views of the planets. It will show you some nice detail on nebula and galaxies, all right. And it's great little telescope. It's an f5 ratio telescope, so it's very fast. But again, I was actually quite surprised with this telescope because it doesn't have much color fringing. Despite being an f5, I was a bit surprised. It does have a special type of achromat where there is a spacer in between the glass that basically makes the wavelengths sort of balance out a bit more. Obviously there will be some colour fringing, but I'm actually quite surprised that this telescope is relatively good for colour correction. It's just slightly out. You will get some purple halo with this telescope around the moon or any bright objects like Vega. You will get bluing or purple halos without a doubt. So with this telescope, why not, in this video, we will try and help improve and super tune this ST-102. Now, this video will cover the ST-102, the ST-120 and the ST-150, which is the bigger 6-inch model of the achromats. The only difference between them is it's basically the same sort of layout. However, I will describe in the video why there's a slight difference on a certain modification that you have to do, and I will try. I don't have an ST-120 or 150 to show you, but I will describe what you have to do to adjust a certain modification to it. There is a slight difference, but all the modifications are exactly the same. So I'm going to take you through step by step through the process. The modifications are very similar to the ST-80, but a little bit more in depth. All right, and there are a few things you need to take precautions as well when you're stripping out, particularly the lens element. Now, I would not recommend anyone to strip out an ED or triplet or any high quality or any high grade refractor. Those are very specialized telescopes. They have collimation screws on there, all right. You can throw off the collimation on a refractor very, very easily if you try to or even attempt to strip out the lens elements. On an achromat, it's not really a massive concern. However, I do not recommend anyone stripping out any high grade equipment because you will not get that collimation back. You also have to set the collimation back through a special machine. And again, I can highly recommend River Valley Optics because they do have the proper setup to recollimate refractors. All right, and again, check out the links below. All right, I'll post a link of River Valley Optics. They have special machines and the equipment to test the optics and adjust them accordingly. So if you do have a high grade refractor, check it out below, check them out. They are the experts, right? They've got the proper setup and they will collimate a high grade refractor. Because again, a lot of people think you don't need to collimate a refractor. That is very true. But when you collimate a refractor, they do have collimation issues, all right? But the collimation is that secured. To throw off the collimation itself, you really have to either drop the refractor onto the ground or you're stripping it apart. Usually collimation, it holds a lifetime, provided you don't strip out the lens system. Collimation, you will not have to adjust. But for the high grade equipment, for the refractor range, if you think the collimation is out and it wasn't performing, then check out Rover Valley Optics, and they'll even give you a certification, a report on how the optics have performed. All right, so it's highly recommend you check them out, and they'll give you a good price as well. So from that on, before we start, please hit a like button if you like watching this video, and again, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel, and again, don't forget to hit the bell, notifications bell, and I will keep you informed for any new videos that I publish out very, very soon. So if you want to find out when I'm going to super tune this ST-102, keep watching and let's do this. So then, take a closer look on the ST-102. Fantastic achromat refractor, especially if you're on a limited budget and if you want a good telescope at a decent price with good views, then this is the telescope for you. Loads of aperture, razor sharp images, no collimation whatsoever. All right, very lightweight as well, and can mount on quite a few mounts, lightweight mounts as well. First thing you want to do is remove the finder scope or any attachments. I'm going to remove the cradle and the dovetail. Again, quite simple. Pop it out like so, and then get rid of that. So we just have the tube. For next bit, remove lens cap, and you exposes the lens element there. Again, quite good glass for an achromat of this type. All right, and nice coatings on there as well. First thing we want to do is then remove the dew shield. This can be a bit stiff. All right, sometimes you've just got to wiggle it about like so. All right, this is just a push on fit. All right, and you just got to keep playing about with it like so. All right, take some time. Okay, and then once it's off, there you go. That just, you know, just dispose of that. Take note that there is a like a felt sleeve, all right, on this dew shield, and that will indicate that that goes that way. Okay, so take note of that felt inside. Now, for this, I find the easiest way to remove the lens element is, I've seen people remove it from just the tube. However, I find it a lot easier if you unscrew this part. All right, so we're going to unscrew this part here. Okay, now if this is stiff, which will be on yours, I've already removed this. You can use a strap spanner. All right, you wrap it round and you want to turn it anti-clockwise. Okay, so how you do it is you turn it anti-clockwise to loosen it. All right, so you're anti-clockwise and it'll just unscrew itself on a thread. So you carefully wind it out bit by bit. As you can see, it's threaded. The tube is threaded onto the lens element cell. Okay, now you will have to unscrew it quite a few threads, and then there you go. That is the lens element removed, exposing the actual tube itself. Okay, you can put a bit of pads on there just to protect it so it doesn't so you don't get too much dust on there, but not to worry. The focuser is quite easy. There are 3 screws either end that are 120 degrees apart from each other. Okay, now on the ST-120 and the ST-150, these focusers comes in a 2-part focuser. So there's 2 separate parts. So basically you've got the housing here on the 102, and the 150 is also the same. And there'll be screws along this part that supports this obviously the main mechanism at the back. So it's a two-part focuser. So you will have to loosen the screws at each of the end to separate the focuser. Okay, so it's a two-part system on the 102 and the 150. On the ST-102, it's a single part, and all you do is remove these screws. Okay, bear in mind that this will become apparent later on in the video. All right, why are we doing this? So again, removing the screws. There is no real need to mark the tube. All right, there's no need to mark the tube on this. All right, it goes a certain way, and it doesn't really matter which way you turn it. All right, there's no need to mark it. All right, we're just going to remove these screws like so. And that comes apart, and then what you do is just pull it out like so, exposing the standard focuser, and then there's your optical tube. So we're taking the focuser off. This is the biggest problem about this focuser. It's okay, it's all metal, it does the job, but again, it's not a 2-speed focuser. It does have some slop, and they can be quite stiff to operate as well. Sometimes there is a lateral movement as well. All right, it's not a bad focuser, but I want to replace it because I think the telescope needs a better focuser. And this one, yes, I have done a video to uprate it, but again, it's not the best. I'm going to replace it. All right, so for a better one. And I think Skywatcher should really put in a 2-speed focuser. I think single speed focusers don't seem to cut the biscuit. I think a dual speed focuser would be great on those telescopes. So we're at the lens element, and as you can see, it's one solid piece. Can you see two slight holes? There's two slight holes there, one there and one there. All right, that is the lock ring that supports this lens element. So what we're going to do, get yourself some clean cotton gloves, because you're going to be handling this with also you don't want to scratch the lens element. Okay, you will get dust on there, I'm afraid, so you will have to clean the lens cell eventually. But with these gloves, all right, this will stop you from scratching the lens element. You will need a special tool. Now you can use some vernier calipers to get in between that, but I find that they slip, and they'll slip and then catch, and you might scratch the lens. What I would recommend is get yourself this tool. Now you can get this from Rother Valley Optics, right? But this is designed for you to strip down camera lenses and stuff like that. And you'll notice here it's on the maximum extension for this lens to fit. All right, and these pins here, these needles, they go into that recess. All right, with the 120 and the 150 short tube variants, I don't know what sort of tools you're going to need for them. All right, because they'll be the same setup as that. All right, with the two holes either side. So there may be some tools that are a little bit longer for you to be able to strip that, or alternatively, what you could do is get someone to hold this while you use the two prongs, hold it in place and try and turn by hand carefully. These are not usually too tight, but I have found that this one is tight, all right, as I was testing it out. Once you crack it, it only needs to be nipped up. There's no need to over tighten it and grunge it on, or what you're going to do is you're going to squash the lens elements, and you're going to create some like lens flaring, or basically if you over tighten it, you will stress the optical things. It's only going to be nicked on. So what you're going to do is you carefully line up the two holes, okay, so you can see they sit perfectly on there. All right, and then what you're going to do is hold it, and then you're just going to twist it counterclockwise, okay, counterclockwise. All right, nice and slowly. Okay, you'll notice it will be a bit stiff at first, but you unscrew it, and as you can see, the tool, let the tool do the work. All right, and just keep winding it all the way out, like so. So as you can see, it pops out. You then remove the tool carefully, and then you should be able to lift out the retaining ring. Okay, so there's the retaining ring. You put that to one side. Take note, it goes one way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to prise off this other spacer using a very fine flat point screwdriver, and just lift it out slowly, and then once you've got it, you then take that part out. Remember the sequence where it's at. So what I do is just make sure you have all your parts in a numerical order. Then you see there's like a rubber O-ring which is split. Okay, so you focus where that split is, you lift it out carefully. Try not to touch the glass, and then once you've got it, you then lift out the O-ring. Okay, again, memorize which process that goes. So now, I'm not joking, get yourself a tin or can of beans like this, right, standardized baked beans. What I've done is I've put a kitchen cloth, 2 layers, and taped it against there. All right, we then place it on the floor. Grab your lens cell, and we're gonna carefully lower the lens element, and then using gravity you wiggle it about like so, and then once you see the weight taken up, slide down the element. Voila! What we've done here is we've removed both elements without touching the glass, but also we've kept the glass in both planes, so we've not twisted it or moved it about. It's all fixed in one point. So as you can see, we're using gravity to lift down the main lens cell, and you can see you've got the concave glass or convex glass on the top. You'll see a very small faint spacer. All right, that is the spacer that's used to correct the lens color correction. All right, just that tiny little spacer just helps a bit to reduce it. Then you've got the concave glass at the bottom. Okay, so remember that the convex is facing outwards, all right, and the concave is at the bottom. All right, this fits a certain way. What we're now going to do is, before we start doing any more work to the lens element, we need to use a marker. All right, so we're going to mark that point All right, just a line across, okay, like so. Carefully not to touch the edge of the glass or get it onto the optics. Okay, so you just want a mark there. This will help you orientate the glass in the correct position. Okay, so with that mark there, as providing when we strip it apart, we can put it back in the same place. So now we're going to place a thin strip of electrician's tape, and we're just going to go over that line. Now the good thing is the adhesive will not damage the coatings and all that. Right, so we put it over that line. We then get a sharp knife, hold the lens element, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut where that spacer is, like so. Okay, so we cut that line across carefully, and with that you can lift both parts like so, and as you can see you've got the really thin spacer. We've now got both elements marked out like so. You can then fold these in slightly, okay, just to keep the tape back in. So now you can separate the two pieces like so. Alright, and then there's the washer as well. Okay, so you can separate both pieces like that. So we'll remove the top one, the top convex, and then there's the spacer. So now what we've got here is the complete lens assembly stripped out. So as you can see, I've placed them in sequence so I know which parts goes where. So we've got the main lock ring, then we've got the spacer, then the O-ring, which is split, then we've got the convex lens element marked down, as you can see. This tiny spacer goes on the concave element, as you can see there. Both are separated. I now know where those lenses go exactly. Okay, so if you keep these in order so that you don't get mixed up. Okay, so when you put it together, you know how that goes. So you've got the bottom piece, put the spacer, put the convex element on top, then you put your rubber O-ring here, then the spacer on top of that, and then the lock ring. That's the sequence how to put it back together. So now we've got the convex lens element here, all marked out. Okay, I've laid it on a lens tissue or lens cloth so I don't scratch the lens. But again, when you strip this out, you're going to have to clean it anyway. Alright, so you have to blow off the dust and then clean both elements. Okay, but what you're going to need is you're going to need one of these. Now you can buy these from Amazon or whatever, eBay. You can pick them up. They're powered by a USB 5-volt system. Alright, they're basically a rotating platform table. Alright, using a USB cable, and you can connect these to a battery. Alright, a lithium battery like this one. Okay, and I just connect it up like so. And then what this does is it has a series of switches. You want the one that's going to rotate it in one direction. You get some of these rotating platforms that can rotate left to right, and or you get some that get random speeds, but you just want a rotation. If you press that, if you activate the battery, press SR, okay, basically it rotates in one direction only. All right, you can speed it up, okay, like so, make it faster or make it slower, but I think there's only 2 speeds on this one. But again, 20-30 pounds. You're not wasting money because these are quite ideal for putting ornaments and stuff like that. But this rotating platform will serve its purpose, all right? And you'll soon see why. So what we've got here is we place some soft tissue and we've put the convex lens element on there, onto the rotating platform, all right? You can see here this will spin and spin and spin and keep going until the batteries run out. Now what else you're going to need is, with these, as you noticed from my last video, I used a permanent marker to blacken the edges of the lens elements. What we're going to do today is slightly different. We're going to use this stuff, all right? This is a Massau black paint, which is the darkest black paint you can buy available, all right? You want to get the darkest paint possible. Now this can be used to paint inside optical tubes as well, all right, to darken it's like another way of flocking. But for this is acrylic paint, all right. This paint is very expensive, by the way, 26 quid for this tub alone, which is pretty pricey for my liking. But for 100 milliliters, you don't need a lot of it, right? You just need to darken the edges on the lens element, okay? So you've got to make sure it's shut well, all right, to get as much of the maximum effect as possible, okay? So order this online. The link is provided below, all right? So please check that out to order some. There are different other brands as well, but you want the darkest form of paint you can possibly get, all right? If you can't, then get matte black. It's not a drama. But the whole idea to darken the edges of these lenses is to reduce the glare in your images or optical train, all right? You don't want any form of glare, or where the light hits at a certain point, you get some weird artifacts in your images. So this helps to reduce that effect as well. Now what you'll probably find with most expensive ED or triplet glasses on refractors, they are already darkened. So I would not even bother or consider doing that, okay? But there are some refractors that will have darkened edges on the glass. But for this, because this is a budget refractor, all right, these are not darkened, all right? So this will help to reduce that glare and provide you some more contrasty images, all right? So we're going to apply this paint at the edges of this glass. So now what we're going to do is, we've got a paintbrush, all right, we'll get the paint and we're just going to dab a bit of paint onto the brush, okay, not too much. And then what we're going to do, like so, is feed that paint round. Once you run out of paint, try another. As you can see, I'm using the brush. I'm not using the bristles, I'm not using the brush to go against. So you just allowing the brush to slowly work in, okay? Keep a good eye of it. And then you just do little thin layers at a time. Go again. Dab the brush and then try another piece, another part, okay? And you just keep working that paint slowly. Now the convex lens element is a little bit harder. You don't need to do too much paint, all right? Just work that paint in there, all right? Use the rotator to help you, all right?
You just don't want to get as... The good thing is, if you do get a bit of paint, you can wipe it off. It will come off. Alright? Because it's only acrylic paint, so don't panic. Just take your time and let that work it in. Alright? As you see, I'm just lightly stroking it. Alright? Lightly stroking it. So that I'm just using tiny amounts. Alright? Just around the edges. So, again, same detail. But this time we're going to paint the concave element, and again use the brush. Okay, this will take a little bit longer to paint. Okay, so there's a lot more to coat here, but it's actually easier. Okay, so using the brush, okay, lightly cover the concave element. Okay, as you can see there, applying very little pressure. Okay, and just keep going that until you've covered the whole area. Okay, a lot easier with this one, but again, be careful when you get nearest to the sides. Okay, so carefully go all the way around. Again, get close to the work as well, right? Get really close. So now, once the paint has dried, this is a good time now to start assembling back together. What we're going to do is you're going to peel off the tape that you just marked out. Okay, so you peel off the tape, and the good thing about this process is you've got your marking already set. Okay, you can patch over that part once you've got the cells together, but it's not really required, right? You just want a little bit of a mark just left there. Bear in mind, with the orientation, you're going to make sure that both elements are correct, right? And same on that side. Again, we're going to peel off that mark. Okay, so now you've got the markings for both sides. Okay, so you can meet them together, and providing you've got the small spacer, which is this part here, you can then mate them together. Okay, and then line it up like so. So we're just going to give an example so you see what I'm trying to do. So that's what you're trying to do, right? You line both marks together like that, all right? And that is those lenses together with the spacer. Okay, so it fits a certain way. So now what's a good opportunity is to get yourself lens cleaning products. I use Border, Wonder Fluid, a blow brush to blow the remaining dust first, and then I use the good old lens cloth. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to blow off all the dust. Okay, so that on one side. Okay, so now get a lens cloth, okay, and just spray it on the cloth, and we're just gonna clean one side first. Okay, and just up and down movements like so. Okay, get rid of the remaining stuff, all the grime and the rubbish. Okay, flip it round. So So we'll just clean both sides up. Alright. You might as well do this whilst the lens is stripped out. Okay, this will get rid of any bacteria that may get trapped in there. Alright, so you just want to clean that up. Okay. Alright, and that's all you need to do. So you need to do that on both sides. Alright, and then you got to do the concave as well. Do the concave part as well. Alright, and do the same for that. Spray it on the cloth and then clean that fully as well. Okay, so both sides, get them cleaned up. Okay. You don't need to do too much, alright? But just enough to get rid of most of the dirt off. Particularly the bits where, the areas where they are facing each other. So then, guys and girls, this is a good opportunity. Once the paint dries, you're going to have to clean both sides of the lenses and then put it all back together. Now, I had to do a few takes, and one of the takes I put too much paint coating, right, which I had a problem installing this optical cell. So what I did is I had to clean it off the edges again, particularly the thicker concave glass, which was quite annoying because this did not fit in. I put too much paint, so it's literally almost an interference fit. So what I did was add a little bit of this stuff with a little bit of water, like a few drops of water, to thin the paint and then paint it. I'm not going to lie to you guys and girls, I had to do a few takes in this and I did make a mistake. So, like I say, it's not easy. I had to use isopropyl alcohol to remove the paint. Alright, and I had to be really careful not to get it on the actual lenses. After I removed it, I then used border cleaning fluid, the cloth, and then used the cotton buds to get off the paint as well. This stuff actually took the paint off, not a problem, and it didn't harm the optics. Alright, and it didn't remove any of the coatings. So the paint is good because it is easily removable. Alright, and I was quite lucky. So when you do dilute this a little bit, it's only a few drops of water to a little bit, you only need to put a very thin coat, particular on the concave glass. Okay, so the concave glass was a bit tricky, so I had to clean them up, and then I just re-cleaned it using that stuff there. So now what we're going to do, we're going to install the concave glass where our bean can, and we're going to position it this way. And as you can see, we're going to remove the tab, so our marking is still present. Okay, so there's a marking there. We're then going to place our spacer over the top, like so. Then grab your concave, or convex lens, remove that. Remember that the much curved side faces towards the concave lens, like so. Okay, now it is a bit tricky, but we want to line it up against where that marking is. Don't worry about the fingerprints on the edges, you can always clean that up, alright? Don't worry about it. The main thing is get that lens cell in line with each other, okay? Then, what we do, now we've got a spacer, what I've done with this lens cell casing here, I warmed it up on a radiator to make this expand, so this is warmer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to lift it up. Now the reason why we heat this up using just warmth from a radiator or heat source is to expand the actual casing. So as you can see here, because this is expanded with the heat, I can slide this up. As you see, I'm lifting it under the optical weight, okay? All right, and as you can see there, you can see it just lock in. What I found is to just rattle it, okay, and you hear it click. All right. Then what we're going to do, we'll remove the bean can like so. We're now going to place our O-ring, okay, like so. What you can do is use a flat point screwdriver just to push this down, like so. Okay, it's now installed. We then place our spacer in there. So the spacer's on there. Okay, and then we're going to apply our lock ring. Right, with this lock ring we're going to just get it on there and we're just going to thread it on by hand. Okay, try and get the lock ring to screw in there. Okay, you can see how difficult it is, right? See how it's screwed in there? You hear a click, you can hear, just thread it in with a couple of turns. Okay, once you've got a couple of turns in place, grab your tool, locate the holes, and you're just going to turn the lock ring. Okay, and you just keep doing that. Now don't over tighten it. Once you get to a certain point, you then just rattle it. Okay, you just want that to sit into the lens cell, and then try again, tighten up. Okay, and just tighten up like so. Once you get to a point, stop. Okay, and just rattle it. Keep rattling it. All right, and then same again, bit by bit. Okay, stop. As you can see, we've still got some free play in there, so we keep doing it until that free play stops. As you can see, the tool's pretty good. Okay, stop. As you can see, keep shaking it. You can now see there's not much play in it. Okay, so Again, try again, tighten it, stop, rattle it. As you can see, there don't seem to be any free play. Okay, so as you can see now, you'll notice, if you take a closer look, you notice that the concave glass sits flush on that recess. Okay, so that recess there, it fits flush. Once it's on there, that is it. But what you can do is just do a final tweak on the lock ring. Okay, once there, another rattle, okay, and then recheck. As you can see, my lines, you can see that lens is now sat flush on both sides. That is now the objective lens fully assembled. Alright, what you can do now is do a final clean using the lens, right, and just carefully just clean all the way around the objective lens. Okay, nice and easy. All right, just to remove any particles. If there is any bits of paint, use a blow brush, but obviously I haven't got any paint on there, so I can do that. So if you do get paint on there, just use the blow brush first before you use the lens cleaning cloth. So now, after you put the lens cell together, what I've done is I've got the main tube, and instead of flocking the tube like I did on the ST-80, you can flock this tube as well, but it can be a bit difficult because there is a few spaces in there which is quite difficult to get the flocking in the middle. All right, so the advantage of using this paint, okay, I use this paint to paint the tube. So as we take a closer look, you'll see, let's take a close look. So as you can see there, I've painted the tube through the baffles into the middle and at the other end. And as you can see here, you can see where the original paint is and where's the new paint. And you can see quite a lot darker than the original paint. Now the reason why I left a lip all the way around is you will see on the next step why I've done that. All right, it's a good 1 centimeter in depth where I've left the original paint intact. So I've painted all the way through the inside and through the other side, all right, in both ends and between the middle. So that is now darkened, and also I've done the same for the dew shield, but this time I painted at the edge to a point where I've not painted over. I've left a little bit of a gap here, all right, where the foam lining is. So this dew shield is also darkened. Again, you can see it's so much darker now that it's almost completely, I can't wait to see the results. So that paint is pretty good, all right. So again, check out the description below for this paint. Yes, it's very expensive, but I've also noticed this is ample amount of paint you will need. I mean, I still have got 3/4 of that paint still left. So you can actually use this paint to paint other telescope baffles and tubes as well. All right, so it's actually quite good coverage, and I did not need to dilute it as well. All right, I just used as it is, and one coat for both these tubes is completely enough. All right, just one coat will do, and you've got some nice darkened tubes now. All right, so much better than the original darkened paint. So now we've got our lens cell completely assembled. We're now going to screw this back onto the main tube. Okay, so what we're going to do is, what I found easier is to put a tube upright and place the lens cell and then screw it, you know, let it just obviously overhang and just screw it in nice and gently. So screw it in nice and gently like so. All right, and don't force it in, keep it nice and square. Okay, and just nipped it up. That's all you need to do. Okay, wow, look at that. Already it's a massive improvement on the darkened tube. We're now going to place our dew shield. Take note of the foam lining faces towards the actual thing itself. Okay, now if it's a bit stiff, don't worry, it will come in. There we go. So we've got that in place. You don't need to push this all the way in. All right, you can just leave it as it is. It's only a dew shield, and then we're going to replace the cap on there. Okay, like so. Now I was going to use the original focuser, and the original focuser, if you're on a limited budget, you can use that paint to paint over the focus tube and all the internals as well. All right, so you can darken this part as well. So particular areas is round there and round the actual tube where it's exposed. All right, and inside also into the tube. So you can do that to help improve the focuser. However, I don't want to do that. I want to upgrade my focuser. I shopped around and I found this. This I got from First Light Optics. Reference number, which is AE-2-FOC-REF prod 12678. Now I will provide the link below to First Light Optics, and this is basically, it comes well packaged, and it comes with this is an Astro Essentials uprated focuser. Again, very similar to the ST-80, but this time I managed to get this dead cheap for £159. Right, so £159. This is CNC aluminium machined part. Yes, it's very heavy duty. I think it weighs around about 1.5 to 2 kilograms of weight, but it's a 10-to-1 focuser, so you got all the way down. All right, it's a Crayston as well. It's a Crayston focuser. All right, it's got lock knobs there, and it's rotatable as well, so you can rotate it all the way through as well. It's actually very well made, very smooth, and much better than the standard focuser, without a doubt. Again, you can take 2-inch format and 1.25" using the adapter like so. All right, very well made and fantastic. The other thing is, you don't need to darken it because it's already got darkened things, but I'm not going to do anything to it at the moment because, again, this is still under warranty, so it's going to be a massive improvement over the standard focuser, without a doubt. So it does come with its own screws, as you can see there, there's own screws, so you don't have to use the other screws as well to attach this. And also in the box it has 2 screws as well, which you can attach a dovetail. Now that's something that's missing off this. I wish that the focuser gets supplied with a dovetail, so you can put a finder scope on there. All right, that's one thing it doesn't seem to have. All right, so there are screws where you can put your uprated focuser or uprated finder scope bracket, all right, on there. So something that should be added, I really think they should add this obviously finder scope bracket so you can attach it onto the focuser. But again, £159, it's a really good deal, well made product, and it's going to transform the 102 greatly. So now we're going to remove these screws here using a 2.5mm hex bit or Allen key, whatever you have. Okay, we're just going to take these out. So I do like how it comes with its own screws. All right. Now, as you can see here, now the secret to this, now with this ST-102, this can fit directly onto the main tube. The trick is to warm that tube. All right, you warm that tube, make it extend. So place it on a radiator, because this is literally an interference fit. Now, as I described earlier in the video, the ST-120 and the 150, their focusers come in two pieces. So basically you have a flange part which is this part here, that's usually at one end of the telescope there, and then the actual focuser itself splits apart. So it's actually a two-piece focuser, not a fixed piece like it is on the 102. So what you have to do is undo the screws, the 3 screws that holds the actual focuser itself, leaving this part exposed. Now, I don't know what the exact sizes are to take them off. I don't know what type of screws they are, but to what I've heard through sources, that for this part to attach, you had to literally sort of either file down or reduce this size a little bit by a file, or reduce the tube size as well and clean that up for the actual part to fit. So the two-piece will have the part of the focus there, so you have to file down the inside of the second part, which is technically that part. Okay, that part, not this part, but this part here. All right, on the 102 and the 150. And I don't know why that is, why it's a two separate part focuser. Don't quote me on that, but for this to fit, you've literally, with the 120, you have got to clean the focuser first part inside for this to fit. Okay, so it's not guaranteed push fit for the 120 and the 150. All right, so you have to do a slight modification. So literally, you file it down for this to fit, which is a bit of a disappointment. However, for the 102, it fits perfectly straight in there, but it will be a tight fit. So for that, doesn't matter which way you put it, all you got to do is push it in and then line it up. As you can see there, it's literally a tight fit. What you're going to do is you're going to line up, you have to push it in nice and square. Okay, it is quite difficult, but it will go in. Okay, it is literally that tight. Okay, it will push in. Wow, that is quite something. I might have to heat up this tube again, all right, on a radiator for me to get this in. Right, I'm almost getting there now. I've just had to warm up the tube for this side, it does go in, and as you can see, it lines up. Wow, that is a very tight fit. But the trick is, stick this optical tube on top of a radiator, let it warm up gradually, and there you go, it does go in. So it's a really good fit, but I like that. All right, I like that in a focuser where it's literally, you've got to literally push it in, right? But don't force it, right? Take your time, it will go in. Bit of patience. If you do struggle, don't worry. All you could do is sand down the inside of this optical tube for it to fit. All right, so just basically just take off the black paint slightly, just enough, and it will go in perfectly fine. Personally, stick this on the radiator, let it warm up for about half hour till you feel it's nice and hot. All right, and then place it on there. All right, you'd be amazed how much these tubes expand. All right, so now what we're going to do is going to place the screws in here. All right, we're just going to line them up. We'll line them up first so we don't cross thread these. So a couple of threads on one side, then we turn the other tube round, do the same again. Again, what you probably find that some holes might not line up, so we just twist it slightly, right? And then once you've got it sort of almost there, a couple of threads on that side, and then a couple of threads on this side. Yeah, a couple of threads on this side. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to stand the tube upright. So now we've stood the tube upright, as you can see. Alright, the reasons we'll do that is to ensure that this focuser sits nice and flush all the way in. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to tighten using the Allen key, 2.5mm or hex bit, whatever you want to use, and you just turn it around and you adjust each one bit by bit, okay, and just keep rotating it, keeping the tube focuser nice and flush. Right, you want that tube to be nice and flush. You want it nice and square, okay, and you just keep rotating it. They don't need to be too tight, you just need to nip them up. All right, don't over tighten these, nip them up, it's just enough. All right, okay, as soon as they stop turning, go on the next side. All right, and just keep doing that until all screws are nice and tight. You should have, now the focuser is fitted. You will see that here, if you look, the focuser is now flush and straight onto the main tube. So the next upgrade, as I've not finished there, is I've got, again, First Light Optics Prod-6225, link in the description, and this is basically the uprated dovetail, Vixen dovetail for the finder scope. Okay, it does come with the mounting screws for you to fit onto the focuser. So we're going to use the screws issued for this Vixen finder scope bracket. We're going to use a 2mm hex bit for these screws that came with it, and I'm hoping they fit. No, so I guess they're 2.5, those ones, but for these we remove, as you can see here, we'll remove these blanking screws. Okay, these are just blanking screws using the 2mm hex bit. So you remove these, Now it's just a pity that this focuser does not come with these holes on both sides, so I don't know why it's just one side. So that's the disadvantage of this focuser. Then we get, now it doesn't really matter where you want to reorientate this, but I might actually put it on this side, and we're just going to line up. I'm going to use the 2.5 hex bit for these screws, and we're just going to line up one for the time being. Okay. Like so. So as you can see now, we've got the two screws there. You can slide this up and down, but it doesn't really matter. We're just going to tighten these up, nip them up. You don't need to over tighten them, right? So you moor the thing, just nip them up. There you go. That is now these installed. So now you can see nicely installed there. Put the two screws away, and then the next modification is I got, again, Astro's Essentials. I got this second hand, believe it or not, from First Light Optics, because again there's a lot of second hand stuff you can buy as well. Alright, keep note of it. This was a bargain. I think it was only around about £30. I don't know, I think about £39, but I got it for a bargain. Alright, but basically this is a red dot finder. Alright, the good thing about this red dot finder is you can have a green reticle or a red reticle. Alright, so it has the slide on, and you can also change different sights for cross point. You name it, there's quite a lot of good stuff, cool stuff in this. And you can also adjust the brightness on the red side or the green side. So it's, again, all it does is laser a target onto the screen, all right, and it's really good. It's well made, all right. And the good thing about these red dot finders, once you adjust them, they don't seem to lose collimation, all right, adjustment when you're trying to align your target. And to be honest with you, I prefer a red dot finder better than a finder scope. I find them very easy to orientate the night sky with a red dot finder. And again, we're just going to fit this over the ST-105 bracket. All right, so we keep widening it out. Again, it's a really good tight fit, which that's what we want. We don't want no flexure. All right, and it slots in. Wow, it's literally, whoa, just on there. So now you've got a really good high quality red dot finder. All right, straight away it looks beautiful. All right, and it looks more like an ED apple, but we're not finished there. And so after we've got the completed telescope, as you can see, it's looking, as you can see there, it's looking really sweet. Look at that darkened areas where I've put that paint around the dew shield and the main tube. Hardly any stray light, okay, coming from there. And the next modification we're going to do, and you probably have guessed it from the ST-80, I've got a decent 2-inch format, 2-inch mirror diagonal, very good 99% dielectric mirror, diagonal mirror. But what we're trying to do is show you this. This is the Barda contrast booster filter. And if you've not seen the ST-80, I did highlight this filter, and this filter will work for the ST-102, and this contrast booster from Barda, this will help to reduce the chromatic aberration dramatically to a point that it's going to be acceptable for not just for viewing pleasure, but also you can use it for photography. So if you're going to take pictures of bright objects, you can take deep sky objects, long exposure, to a reasonable level, and you can get away imaging nebula and galaxies with it. All right, you will get a distinct tinted yellowish color. All right, particularly if you're viewing the moon or brighter stars. All right, there is a slight like tinge of yellow. That's the only drawback with that filter. So yes, you won't see it. You will see it through the eyepiece if you view it for your eyepiece. Not, you will get that, but photography use, you will also get that effect as well. But the whole idea is you need to, what that filter does, it cancels out that bluing effect dramatically. So what I'm trying to say to you guys and girls and everyone else is, please, this is still an achromat. All right, this is not an apochromat or any ED doublet. All right, this is just a bog standard refractor. All right, an achromat will always be an achromat, regardless what it is. But I'm not saying it's going to make it give out ED or apo type performance, because it simply is not. All right, it will not eliminate all that chromatic aberration. All we've done here to these modifications is to help to improve on, to reduce the glare, also to eliminate some of the chromatic aberration, making the images more contrast, also with a better focuser and a red dot finder, which makes things easy to use, focus and find focus and point at targets a lot easier. And the contrast booster will eliminate that chromatic aberration to a manageable level. So guys and girls and everyone else, this is still an achromat, but with these modifications it will perform a lot better than standard. All right, and if you've not seen the ST-80 video, please check it out from the top. That is a video that you must see to see the results. I will be testing this out later on. All right, so wish me luck. Fingers crossed it's clear skies. And if you like what you see there, please keep watching and hopefully wish me luck. So then, I've got the ST-102. We fitted a field flattener, T-ring adapter and my standard Canon 600D. With that setup alone, I've got the Barda contrast booster attached to the field flattener, and we're just going to take a closer look on something from a distant target. And wow, look at that. Zoom in. That is pretty impressive. So as you can see there, that contrast booster filter has absolutely transformed this telescope. Yes, there's going to be a hint of false colouring, but what a superb image on the image quality. So remove the contrast booster filter, okay, and we're going to take a closer look what it looks like now. And as you can see there, yes, there is a hint of chromatic aberration, and as you can see there, I'll just do the slow motion, and as you can see there, look at that. So yes, it has minimized it a bit, but there is still
Like before, as I mentioned, there is still chromatic aberration. So yeah, with the contrast booster filter, it does actually work really well with this telescope. So then, guys and girls and everyone, we've got our super tuned 102 refractor, and as you can see, the setup, we've got a few changes here, so we've put a few changes on this scope. So as you can see on this setup, I placed, we'll take a close look all the way around. So what I've done here, I've put a solar finder, which is an old sharp, star sharp, like a sun finder. All right, I've got the Ultra Astro ERF adapted onto this scope. I have put some spacers and created some new spacers for that. Again, I had done a video on the ERF, how to adapt this onto different telescopes, so please check out the link at the top. Right, I did a video on how to adapt the Ultra Astro ERF, because like always, they're not really a cheap item. All right, they're very expensive, and again, please check that video out. All right, it will help you able to adapt it onto this scope. Now, what we've got is, because we've got the ERF, there's no need for a UV IR filter, because this has the built-in the IR UV filter already on there. So we're just using the mirror diagonal straight across with the mighty hydrogen alpha quark, right? And we're going to use the ASI 178 mono camera. Again, I've tested this out, all right, another video. Fantastic camera for the money. Not quite as good as the 174 mono, which I really wanted, but it's too expensive. But this will do for now. All right. So at the moment, I've got everything all ready to go. I can't wait for this, because using this telescope, I have a very large aperture telescope for solar. All right. So this will be like the biggest setup for solar work. Now, also using the ERF. Yes, you don't have to use an ERF. You can use a Bada IR UV filter in place in the mirror diagonal, all right, and place the filter there. But because it's 100mm aperture, I don't want to risk that. You can safely use it to up to 120, but I don't want to push it to that limit. All right, so I really wanted to use the ERF to us. That's a much safer option, and at the moment it's got the dust cover anyway, so you can't see what's going on there. So obviously when you're solar imaging, make sure everything's covered up, like your finder scopes, even your red dot finders. All right, you don't want to be melting parts, so I put the cover on so to prevent that. Okay, so basically I've got everything running so far. It is mounted on me new HEQ5 mount, which I got quite a few months ago, right before things started to get ropey with financial difficulty and all that. Luckily, I managed to get that at a bargain price, all right, and it's already modded. All right, I've already put the belt mod on there, everything else. So it's all good to go, ready for action. So again, it's all connected up. I'm running short cap. I'm just waiting for the sun to just get a little bit more high in the sky before we can commence imaging. So far, wish me luck. And also with this, using the Skywatcher Acro map, You don't need an ED and you don't need a triplet for solar work. Now, the reason why I'm testing this out is to make sure that it can retain the heat. Alright, so if you're solar imaging, the ERF should cool down the main tube, so there's no need to worry about the paint melting or going onto the optics. Alright, so all the modifications there are designed to withstand the solar's heat, obviously the sun's heat. The ERF will help massively, but again, if I was using this telescope, if I was using it for solar, always put a white solar filter in front on there. I'll never use this telescope without any filtration. Okay, so I will, if you're using the sun, use the ERF for imaging, or if you're using white solar filter, or so you want to look through the eyepiece or the camera, then you need a white solar filter minimum. Never use, I don't like using the refractor without any filter, particularly if you're going to use it for viewing the eyepiece. If you do that, you're going to blind yourself. So always get a solar filter. All right. The ERF is not designed to filtrate most of the harmful rays. This is only designed to keep the heat from the tube. There's already a blocking filter in the quark and all that, which makes it much more safer to view the sun. However, if you're using an eyepiece, you must have a white solar filter. Okay, that is very crucial, so make sure everyone does that. All right, or you will lose your eyesight, and I don't want to be held responsible for your actions. Okay, so from that on, that's the disclaimer out of the way. We're almost ready to go, and with the solar finder I will locate the sun shadow on there, which will emit through there, and I'll hopefully get it bang on, and we should be good to go. So then, guys and girls, we've got the image of the sun. We've got a few sunspots there. Alright, and if we scroll through using the SynScan app, you can see there's a few solar flares and prominences, but unfortunately it's a horrible turbulent day, so you just need to minimize the brightness because it's a bit bright, because also I'm trying to, right, as you can see, not too much, that'll do. Now as you can see there, I've got quite a few details there. Maybe I'm not quite focused, but it's so bad seeing at the moment, the clouds passing through it, so it's affecting my views at the moment. So I'm gonna have to wait until that cloud passes over, wait for the sun to get higher in the sky as well. So a bit disappointing at first, but we managed to get it focused. So the ST-102's focused on the camera. I did have Newton rings, so I had to take off the 2-inch adapter off the quark and put in the 1.25-inch nose piece and adapter in there as well, and it stopped some of the Newton rings, but I think I've got 1 or 2 Newton rings, so there's a big problem somewhere. So hopefully, fingers crossed, when this cloud passes over I'll get some good images. So a bit of a roughy start, but at least we're getting somewhere. So the cloud is slowly moving away. We managed to get reasonable focus, although there's a lot of turbulence there, but we've got a few promises there. Looks really good. And oh, we've got a nice one here. Hold on, wait a second. Oh yeah, that's a nice one there. So as you can see here, we get some good results, but it's just a real shame that it's very turbulent. But the good thing about this, it proves one thing: you don't need an ED or triplet to get good results. Okay, so I'm just trying to adjust my exposure as I can. Like, it's a bit hard because I've had to disconnect my mouse to do the recording. But if you get it to a reasonable level, you know, you want to get it so you get as much detail as you can. So you have to adjust the exposure. We'll put all that anyway. What we're going to do is I'm just going to scan and see any different objects there's like to be. I've got a few Newton rings. For some strange reason, I've got Newton rings in my image as well. So I need to somehow tilt the camera. This is completely normal, all right, but we've got some Newton rings, which is quite annoying. But there's a nice spot there. All right, I think I'm focused. I'm just going to readjust my focus. I am focused enough, but I think it's because it's so turbulent. That's the best focus I can get. I must admit, this focuser is silky smooth, so it really does play dividends, this upgrade. So the ST-102 is great for the focusing. The focuser is absolutely brilliant. It's butter light, it's very heavy duty, no messing about. It's a very good focuser, and there's only a few points of interest. So not massive flares, not massive promises, but we've got a nice sunspot. Oh, I've lost it. This usually happens a lot. There we go, back on. I'm just scanning what I want to image for the obviously there's still that passing cloud, so maybe that's what's happening here. There's not much detail because it's partially blocked by partial cloud, so I've not got as sharp views as I usually get them, but yeah, it's gonna have to do. So what we'll do is I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to record these images, because if I have this recording and then try to image, I'm going to sacrifice a lot of frame rates. So from that on, already impressed with the focuser, making it so much easier to operate and get pinpoint sharpness. So now we swapped over to from hydrogen alpha from the quark, and we're now going on to white solar filter. Made myself a filter, border filter film, right? Made my own little adaptation on there, and it fits perfectly on there, right? So got the own filter on there, and we're going to take images through the Canon in white light. Now the main problem I need to tell you guys and girls is the focuser, despite got a long draw tube, it's still insufficiently not enough to gain focus. So I had to use a low profile T-ring, and not ideal, but I had to move it with a little bit of a gap with that clamp in there, and it's a bit dodgy. I won't recommend anyone doing it, but I managed to get it focused just. all right, using that low profile focuser and the draw tube. So to be honest with you, I think the focuser needs a little bit more travel, but I'm guessing that is just mainly for this focus is great for if you're using a reducer or a field flattener. You will get that travel a lot further in more than that. But because I'm just using it prime focus with no field flattener or reducer, this is just directly straight to the sensor on the camera, and as you can see, it's almost maxed out. I've maxed it all out with that. This was only possible if I didn't have if I had a normal T-ring. This will not go into focus at all. So there's something I need to highlight to you guys and girls. The focus is good, but you're going to have to use extension tubes. Ideally 35mm to 40mm extension tube minimum to achieve a reasonable focus. I know the focuser draw tubes all the way out. I don't really particularly like that because you can get slop in the image, but I can't seem to feel any slop on that focuser. So it's pretty sturdy even though it's maxed out extension. So if you are going to image using the sun or the moon or whatever planets, you need to extend this all the way out. But if you're using a field flattener or focal reducer, this will go in a lot more. So you've got to use extension tubes on refractors, I'm afraid. So that's the disadvantage of this focuser. There's just that not enough draw to focus out. So as you can see, we've got the image of the sun in 3 times mode. All right, so I need to flick that to a full disc, but I can get a good image there, film footage or something like that. And we've got 1 or 2 sunspots that appeared as well. All right, nice and sharp. Now the good thing is, if I just up the exposure, right, we've got slight tinge of bluing on the edges, all right, with the solar filter. All right, so but not to worry. All right, it has shown up a bit, but it's a lot more reduced than it actually was. The edges would be a lot more bluer than that. All right, a lot more bluer, but there are some of the chromatic aberration in there, but it's not that bad. All right, and you can still image from it. But again, it has improved. I'm not saying it stopped it, but it has improved the image quality a lot better than it is. So I maxed it out. You can see now when I put max exposure, there's that blue in there, but it's a lot worse than it was anyway. But I'm just going to minimize exposure and then get a decent image of the sunlight. So I'm going to take some pictures of that. I can reduce the size if I want, which is probably best. But again, let me just get off the digital zoom. Okay, so I took out the digital zoom. That's my settings. All right, as you can see there, and we should get the full disc all refocused. There we go, full disc in there. So and now we've got a pesky cloud that's just blocked it, so we're gonna have to wait a few moments until that clears, and then we'll take a video of that, and hopefully we get some good results from there. So I thought I'd show you this focuser draw tube. Doesn't extend all the way out, so you're gonna have to use an extension tube to fit on there to extend the focus. Now I'm guessing I should have used a much thicker T-ring. So with a thicker T-ring, a standard T-ring, you should only just get into focus with that. All right, so you got to extend it out a bit more to get this focus. So if I use a thicker T-ring, then that should have been better. But I thought, well, my mistake, but I should use a standard tearing. Maybe I can get focus, but again, I would recommend just adding that extra 35mm of extension to achieve better results. But so far, focuser is very sturdy, very smooth, and I must admit, it's pretty impressive. Despite that, it's not much of a flaw. So if I use the bigger tearing, maybe I'll be able to max out the extension. But obviously here, I'm up to about 80mm extension here already. So I thought I'd show you this. So if you're going to image in the moon and planets, you've got to really max out. What I should have done, I could have connected up the mirror on there. So if I use the diagonal mirror, maybe that will bring this draw tube in a lot more. But we can achieve focus, but you've got to use a thicker T-ring or an extension tube, all right, just to achieve that focus a little bit more. And so far, when the sun clears up, which it has, we're going to take those shots.
guys and girls and everyone, what do you reckon? Fantastic results from this ST-102, and as you can see, those images of the sun and the moon, absolutely amazing shots. Some of the modifications have transformed this telescope dramatically. It's a real pity that I could not get any clear skies to do some deep sky imaging, which is a real shame, because I've just got a dovetail bracket and also got my finder guider set up already there, and already balanced on the mount, and it's just good to go. It's really just need a clear sky, and that's the real shame. I wish I could show you guys and girls and everyone the true images through deep sky. I'll be honest with you guys and girls, it will be very similar to the ST-80. You saw the images from there, absolutely staggering. So the added extra aperture will help show a lot more. So there'll be a little bit more light grass on the ST-102. So I'm convinced that you're going to get awesome images for deep sky. But we've got a decent achromat within the budget. I'm actually quite thrilled because I've got an achromat that I can use for solar. And that's really the main purpose of this telescope, is actually use a large aperture telescope using the quark eyepiece. So there is true potential in this telescope to reveal in a lot more detail on the sun, and combine it with the quark. Yes, you might have spent a bit of money towards achromat, but think about this: getting the quark, getting the telescope set up, uprate some of the modifications, and you find yourself that you probably spend less than half than what you would have got if you spent on a proper dedicated solar telescope of the same aperture. I'm talking 5,000 plus, all right? That's £5,000 upwards for a 4-inch solar telescope, and that's not cheap. And again, the bigger the aperture, the more expensive it is. So this is a decent way to have something within a budget. Yes, I know hydrogen alpha is not a cheap hobby, but using hydrogen alpha and using a similar setup, you can get truly amazing images of the sun in hydrogen alpha. Absolutely astounding. It's just a real shame I didn't have the correct sky conditions, because if it was crystal clear, we'd have got a lot more data, we would have got a lot more detail in those images. But it has true potential there. Seeing those images, this telescope can reveal a lot more than my other setups that is set up for solar work. So this is the real reason why I want something, and it just shows that if you're imaging in mono, you don't have the chromatic aberration, okay? Especially when you're imaging through the sun, there's no chromatic aberration using the mono camera, and as you saw there, there's nothing at all. It only appears when you're using a color camera. That's where it shows the false coloring a lot. So to get around it, use that contrast booster filter. All right, it's a definite must to use with a telescope, particularly if you're using in white light solar, or you're imaging deep sky and stuff. But other than that, I'm really impressed with the results. I hope this video has helped you guys and girls, and like I say, it's amazing results. And I always like to show to you guys and girls the real evidence, and that's what it's all about, to prove to you guys and girls, does that project work? Because again, I know you don't want to spend the extra money taking that risk, and then next minute I'm giving you the wrong advice and it hasn't worked. So I hope in this video it's helped you guys and girls.
If you've got the ST-102, I highly recommended that you undertake these modifications. Also, this also applies to any similar telescopes like the Celestron and the Orion optics, which is the, not to be confused with the UK optics, but the USA Orion optics. They have similar setups as well. So they have an ST-80 and a ST-102 similar build. So this will apply to those. Maybe a Meade variants as well that are similar. All right, but don't quote me on that. But I know that some of the Celestron, some of the Orion optics are very similar setups, and I believe Saxon as well. Saxon is another telescope brand, which is a good brand, but I've not heard of them as much. But there are other brands that are similar build, because a lot of them are actually built in China, and they're all very similar build, just the name badge change. Okay, so that's something to consider. So if you've got a setup like this that's very similar to the Skywatcher, maybe you could undertake it. But again, I can't guarantee it's going to work out for you guys and girls. But I do know that the darkening the tube and all that will work for you. But it's the focus that's the main thing that I'm a bit considered, because that does fit the 102. So if you got the 102, you're one of the lucky ones. The focuser does fit straight on, but it is a tight fit. So again, please use that technique. Stick the main tube on top of a hot radiator, let it expand. Once it's hot, place the tube in. You'd be surprised how that works. It really works a treat. So that concludes my video. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Again, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe onto my channel. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell to keep you informed of any new videos that I publish out. And bear in mind, I will publish out some video content, but again, I will try my best to try, but I will let you know. Okay, so thanks again. Thanks for watching, and I wish you all clear skies.